Alrighty, let's talk instincts. Intuition maybe, and it's one of probably the best and the most defining features of humanity. You see a square hole, and you see a square, and you probably intuit that this goes in there. The sphere goes in circle and whatnot. It's wonderful. Okay, what um what has enabled us to probably survive for generations, past knowledge and everything. The mind is like this incredibly complex and beautiful organ, but um it is also a double-edged sword. Optical illusions, and all these other variety of things also exist. um I think I'll address drinking now, because I might forget what I was trying to say later on in the video. So you have this complex reasoning machine in your brain. It's evolutionarily wired to protect you, to help you, and everything. Okay, evolutionarily it has evolved a certain way, and evolution can't really, by the way, okay, evolution can't really drop things. It only works with addition. So what you have is not necessarily the best and the most optimal thing, and there is plenty of proof for this, by the way. Okay, optical illusions, as I said, exist. um, you have blind spots in your eyes. Your brain beautifully fixes those, and the image that you see, it's actually supposed to be inverted. Your brain's actually doing all of that, and so much processing that your brain does. Okay, and on top of that, I see people using psychedelics. As is, the brain is like incredibly biased at truth and reality. The way you interpret things is so biased. So much of the information is already sucked out, and people on top of that add alcohol and everything. I don't know, man. Anyway, that was that. But the main point of this video is instincts, as I already said. Instinct is something that probably feels like your gut feeling. But if you looked at this channel enough, you probably know where I'm already going with this. What is instinctively, or rather what feels instinctively right to you, it's probably not necessarily what is good for you, or what is closer to the truth. It Most of it is just a byproduct of your environment and the way you've been brought up, and other things like that. Wounds, and we've discussed all of this. So that kind of, and now that we've identified that instincts could probably have deficits in them, we let's compare this to other things in the world. Okay, you see electricity, being a very good example. People are freaking terrified of messing with electricity and current. They just go, wow, electricity, current, or fire. I don't want to mess with things I don't understand. But probably the biggest thing that we don't understand is our mind, and people put all sorts of psychedelics, and you see people just winging it without. I'm not saying the brain has been completely understood, and I'm not asking you to stop living your life just because we don't have a complete understanding of the brain. But as is, there is already so much research, and so many things that could just help us be better with each other. And some version of themes that have already repeated in my videos is how society as a whole looks at problems. Let's it's very polarized and black and white even. Let's discuss a particular crime against a minority, or a woman, or whatever. Okay, and suddenly everyone just gets, they just listen to this news, people, people's blood boils or something. I don't know what happens. And it is this polarized reaction of, men are pigs, or off with their heads, and all these other things driven mainly by emotion. And the very unfortunate thing is they're not helping their problem one iota by doing all of this. And I get that, okay, a lot of systemic issues exist, racism, sexism, whatnot. So if you're a girl, or if you're a person of color, I get that, okay, I get the anger, I understand all of it, okay. But think about the actual problem at hand, because if you react defensively, or in a way that probably offends the people perpetrating, or helping all of this stay in place, then you're not really doing yourself a favor. If anything, you're kind of doing a disservice to your cause, and all of like the future generations that come after. So we're at this awkward phase of a big lack of understanding of sociology and psychology. What would probably be a better approach is, and I'm sure, okay, and I'm sure it's not understood well enough, okay. If you probably look at a criminal's life, or and by the morality, what's right and wrong, it's we let's toss that aside for a second, because yeah, because that's a whole other video. But let's just assume what the society thinks is right or wrong is like, in an absolute sense, the right or wrong. So let's just agree that, something that the law says it is wrong. Then you probably want to understand, why someone did what they did. And that unfortunately means you have to look at them as a complete person, as a person with good traits, bad traits. And if you just reduce people to monsters, this anarchic view, nothing is really going to get better. And even worse, okay, if you create this culture of shame, okay, um, or even let's take a less extreme example of probably violence or anger issues or beating people up. I'm sure, okay, I'm sure we all have intrusive thoughts. I'm tall, I'm 6 foot, by the way. Anyway, so I'm walking down the street, okay, and all these other short people, their legs are small, and they kind of walk slowly. And in my mind, I just wanna just push through, damn it. Just push through. I'm kind of pissed, okay. And you have all these thoughts, okay. But when the reason why a person who is probably afraid to come out and say they have these thoughts is because we created this culture of shame, where you equate your thoughts and emotions to what the person actually is. So if I were to just come out and say, man, I just want to smack all the slow walkers, and just push my way through, that probably be social suicide. And I can say more, and I think it just builds up. The more extreme the case, the more extreme the social whiplash you're gonna get from it. uh yeah, so anyway, we were talking about crime and those kinds of things, right? So not only are you not solving the problem, but people who I'm sure, okay, most criminals are just winging it, as they say, okay, following their instincts, and they just end up there. So we, by creating this culture, we also are unfortunately inhibiting the people who are trying to get better, okay. They have all these thoughts, are just probably, and they probably want to seek help, and that happens with, if the world is more open, and if there's more awareness to it. So if you just if someone would just go out in public and say something disturbing, the first instinct of us is not, this person is probably, something something messed up here. It is not looked at as a mental health issue, rather it is directly projected onto the person as, they are that problem, instead of they have this problem. if that makes any sense. So we have that, and by the way, okay, the societal, um, yeah, your instincts are mainly created by your society, and I think most people are rather me. Okay, I thought, if my instinct just aligned with what the society broadly thinks, then it's fine. But obviously that is not fine, because human instinct and collective human agreeing has allowed so many things to happen. Name it: slavery, caste, sexism, racism. They are all, by the way, okay, they were all completely fine. And I could draw to a perfect example right now how we're treating animals, or there's so many other things in the world, man. Okay, so many other wrong messages that you just get in. So if you do not have your own critical thinking skills, your own understanding of what's happening, and if you just wing it and just follow your instincts, there are going to be problems, and that is not ideal. One of the beautiful things about humanity that I believe is diverse opinion and diverse thoughts, and we unfortunately do not seem to see that. We are increasingly going towards a world that is more, well, yeah, it is definitely more polarized, but the groups, the difference in opinion, the delta, it's very small. It's either, I wish, humanity, as if every individual were their own political belief system, that be like the utopia, everyone thinking for themselves. I think, that if you want to settle for probably a realistic version, and if you just scale it up, it would probably be groups or clusters of people who think alike. But now it's just turned into very very few groups of people who think for themselves, and that is extremely unfortunate. Okay, man hating has become a thing, woman hating has become a thing, religion hating, by atheists to hating on the Jews to hating on people of color, Indians, and it and by the way, I'm sure, okay, most people who are in these groups who perpetrate all of this, they really have no idea. They've just been born into it, and they're just probably winging it. Oh, anyway, that was that.